Hello, welcome to Omega Virtual Learning. This is the last lesson on transformation. We're going to talk today about rotation. We began transformation talking about reflection, translation, enlargement, and we are now on rotation. If we will learn how to rotate shapes correctly, given the center and the angle of rotation, then we'll also learn how to describe rotation of shapes using the right terminologies or the right correct words. Before we talk about rotation, we need to understand direction or movement of rotation. Now I have the compass: north, east, south, and west. Now you realize that there was 90 degrees in each of the quarters. So 90, 90, 90, and 90. Now, in terms of clockwise and anti-clockwise movement, you realize that it's when you move from the north line, it helps you to understand the movement, whether you are doing clockwise movement or the anti-clockwise movement. So it's very important to learn how to move in terms of direction. From the north line, north to east, this movement is a clockwise movement and it's 90 degrees. So from north to east is 90 degrees clockwise. From north to west, this movement is also clockwise, but it's 270 degrees. 90, 90, 90 makes 270. So that's 90 clockwise, 270 clockwise. I'm using this because it's going to help you understand rotation properly, and also when it comes to description, you may need to employ this to help you understand the movement. Now let's look at the anti-clockwise movement. That is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. North to west is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. And we have 270 anti-clockwise, that's north to east. So you can see some similarities here. 90 degrees anti-clockwise will take you to west. The same 270 clockwise also take you to west, so that means they all mean the same thing. 90 anti-clockwise the same as 270 clockwise. In the same vein, 90 clockwise the same as 270 anti-clockwise. When it comes to 180, you will say that is 180 in the clockwise direction. That is also 180 anti-clockwise, but they all get to south. So it doesn't matter whether you go clockwise or anti-clockwise. So when it comes to 180 degrees, we don't really qualify with clockwise or anti-clockwise movement. So that's the first thing we need to understand about some movements. Okay. We are supposed to rotate this shape A 90 degrees clockwise around the origin and label it B. Now, you might need a tracing paper to help you do the movement. So the first thing to do is draw or trace this on a tracing paper. Okay. Now you put your pen or pencil on the center, because that's the center of rotation, and keep on rotating this 90 degrees. But the question is, when do I know where to stop? Like what we said before, 90 degrees clockwise is from north to east. So you rotate onto the north part of the shape, faces what? East. That's the meaning of what I did before. We're going to keep moving onto this north part, faces what? East. So you put your pencil down. That's it. You got it now. North is now facing east. We've done 90 degrees clockwise. So we just have to draw it, take the tracing paper off and draw it. So that's going to be our B. So this is only to help as a guide to know when to stop. Let's look at example 2. 90 degrees anti-clockwise around the center 1, 3. So that's the center. Tracing paper, trace it. Now, 90 degrees anti-clockwise, 90 degrees anti-clockwise this way. The north should now be facing what? West. So keep turning onto the north side. It's facing west. Done. Now let's look at, so you take the tracing paper off, then you label it. Okay, so we talk about 90 degrees clockwise, 90 degrees anti-clockwise. Let's look at 180 degrees. Okay, 180 degrees, we don't care about whichever movement, clockwise or anti-clockwise. So you want the north to be facing south. This top bit should be facing downwards. Tracing paper to draw. Put your pencil on the center. Turn onto the top. Faces the bottom. Simple as that. Take the tracing paper off and draw. So this is 180 degrees. Okay, we said from the beginning that 90 degrees clockwise is the same as 270 degrees anti-clockwise, and 90 degrees anti-clockwise the same as 270 degrees clockwise. Let's look at an example and see to confirm what we just said. So here we have the same shape. We're gonna do rotation in two different ways: 270 anti-clockwise and 90 degrees clockwise to see where they will end. Center is -1, -2 for both of them. Now 270 anti-clockwise from north, 1, 2, 3 will take you to east. So the north part should be facing east. So let's trace the shape, and we keep on turning it onto the north part faces east. So that's 270 anti-clockwise. So we draw our shape. That's our B. Let's see what happens to 90 degrees clockwise. 90 degrees clockwise from north we could be facing east. So also we turn onto the top faces east. So that confirms that 90 degrees clockwise is the same as 270 degrees anti-clockwise. So this is how we rotate shapes given the center and the angle and the direction. Now let's move on to description of rotation. How do you describe shapes when it's rotated around a particular center? So this is a typical exam question. Describe fully the single transformation that maps shape P onto Q. Also the order is important, is P to Q, because the order will help you understand the direction as well. Now, in describing rotation, also three things important to be mentioned. The name of the transformation, which in this case is rotation. We need the angle and the direction, not just the angle, the direction as well, and also the center of rotation. Now, the center of rotation is tricky to find. The technical way of finding the center of rotation is to select two pairs of corresponding corners, join each pair with a straight line. Each straight line, you bisect it. And where the two bisectors meet will be the center. But that's too much to be done in an exam under time condition. So you need to find a clever way of arriving at your center without having to do bisecting of lines. So I'm going to show you how you can do it. And you got to be practicing in order to get your hand on it. Okay, so first, three things to talk about. Name of the transformation, and you will know when it's rotation, you see it's turn around. So we know P to Q is a rotation, so you state that. You know it's a rotation. How do you get the angle? Use this to help you. Pick a vertex or a side to compare. Okay, any side that you want to pick. So it's P to Q. So I prefer to always start from the north line. Helps me to know my movement. So go to P and highlight the top of P. That's the top of P. Go to the image, which is the Q. Where does it end? This top of the P is now this side. So from north side, where are we facing? East. Go to your compass. How do you move from north to east? It's this way. So it tells you it's what a 90 degrees clockwise movement. Second point done. So that is a 90 degrees clockwise movement. Now the only thing is, how do you find the center? Pick 2 points, any corresponding points of your choice. Then that tells you there is a point somewhere here that you can connect to make a 90 degrees. You pick a point here, you realize this will not make 90 degrees. You pick a point here, you realize it's not. And the line should be the same length. So you need to understand something. A bit of trial and improvement, you see. That makes a perfect corner, 90 degrees. And this line, the length, the same as that. The length should be the same. So you know your center is what? 1, 1. You know it's a rotation. You know the angle and direction 90 degrees clockwise. Put this in a sentence form. Rotation 90 degrees clockwise around the center 1, 1. So just to recap, the name of the transformation, we know it's rotation. To know the angle and direction, go to the object, which is the P. Look at the top of P. Go to the image. Look at where that point is facing. And look at the compass to decide. Okay, north is to east now. North to east can be done by 90 degrees clockwise. Hope you've understood this point. Let's try with another example. Maybe more example will help you understand. Okay. First, I need to select 3 things to talk about. I know it's a rotation. My angle. Select 2 corners or 2 sides. So I've picked this. I'll go to the object, is A. So always pick the top of the object, the north of the object, to help you to understand. That is the north of the object. This is the image. From north, I'm facing south. How could that happen? That can only happen when you do 180 degrees. So my angle is 180 degrees. Remember, 180, we don't talk of the direction. Whichever direction will give you, will take you to the same place. Now, all you need to do is pick 2 points. Join with a straight line. And when it's 180, the center is easy. Just the center or the middle of the line that you've drawn. So when it's 180, pick 2 corresponding corners. Join with a straight line. The center of that line is the center. Simple as that. So 180 is very easy to find the center. Put it in a sentence form. Rotation 180 degrees around the center to 0. Example 3. Remember, it's P to Q. P to Q. Go to P, select the top of P. This is P. And this point is facing Q. So let's highlight. So rotation, select the point. Okay, it's P to Q. And you realize that P, the north is facing east. On P, which is the north side, is now facing east. That can only happen when you move from north to east, and north to east is 90 degrees clockwise. So this is also 90 degrees clockwise. We know our direction and the angle. Pick 2 points, corresponding points. We are trying to create 90 degrees somewhere here. 90 degrees somewhere here. Remember, it's going this way. So the angle should be something like this. That's one thing you need to know. The angle should be something like this. Now you check. Okay. This line is longer than this line, so it can't be this point. But what about this point? That gives you 90 degrees, and perfectly it fits well. So our center is -2 and 3. Put in a sentence form. Rotation 90 degrees clockwise around the center, -2, 3. Let's do one final example on description. A to B. 3 things to talk about. First is rotation. A to B. Go to A. Select the top part of A. So this is top part of A. Top part of A is facing west. North to west. North to west can only happen when you do 90 degrees anti-clockwise. So we know this is 90 degrees anti-clockwise. We are moving this way. Pick 2 points to form your... Okay. So moving this way, so the angle should be something like this. That's the angle. Where should this be? This point doesn't make sense because this line is shorter than this line. But what about this point? That's it. So like I said, continuous practice will help you really spot it clearly. So we now know that the center is 0, 0. So we see rotation 90 degrees anti-clockwise around the center, 0, 0. So that brings us to the end of our lessons on transformation. We've done reflection, translation, rotation, and enlargement. And they are all very important topics that you need to know for your GCSE. Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share with your friends, and like the channel. And let us hear your comment as to what to do to make this better. Thank you very much for watching.